welcome back to my channel True Crime and Trials, and today I will be talking about the upcoming trial of Robert Durst. Now, for those of you that have seen The Jinx, then you know his backstory, and he is now 76 years old. He's also known as Bob Durst, and the trial starts tomorrow, Wednesday the 4th. Yes, Wednesday the 4th of March, for the murder of his friend and confidant, Susan Berman. And she was murdered in her home in, I read, one said 2000, one said 2001. So the prosecutors allege Bob shot Susan Berman to stop her talking about and incriminating him in the disappearance of his first wife, Kathleen McCormack Durst, in 1982, and her body has never been found. So this Jinx docu-series aired in 2015, and it's called The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst. It's an amazing docu-series, so if you're at all interested, try and find a place you can watch it. The day before the fight finale of this docu-series, he was arrested in New Orleans for the murder of Morris Black, who was a friend of Robert's, who he lived in Galveston with. Morris was killed and dismembered, and Robert, or Bob, actually admitted to doing it, but when they went to trial, he actually claimed self-defense and was acquitted. How that happened, I don't know, but I mean, he's loaded, so he can buy the best defense possible. So it's going to be interesting to see which way this trial's going to go. I mean, it's set to last a long time, at least to the summer. So, you know, I was in two minds whether to follow through with this or wait for, you know, another few trials to come up in the meantime. But I did watch The Jinx, and, you know, hearing what he said at the end has always stuck with me. So when I saw this crop up, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I want to see how this goes. And the actual interviews that were in the docu-series are going to play a role in this trial. So in that final episode of The Jinx, Bob was confronted with evidence that could connect him to the murder of Susan Berman, because she died, you know, in between all this. So at this point, Bob asked to go to the bathroom, and he actually forgot his microphone were on, and you can hear him actually say to himself, "What the hell did I do?" And then he said, "Killed them all, of course." And honestly, it just sends shivers down your spine to hear him say it and not knowing he was actually being recorded. So this will be a focus in the trial, as the prosecution believe that in saying what he said, he implies he killed Susan Berman, but his defence say the show was edited, and the defence actually accused the filmmakers of coordinating with the police. So we'll see in the trial what they actually say. Before Susan was murdered, she told Bob that it's going to be the best for both of us if I just talk to them. And Bob actually told her, "Do whatever you want." Then she died. This is according to transcripts of Durst's interviews with the filmmakers of the documentary. The prosecution say that in hindsight, this was the conversation that sealed her fate. Susan was actually found on Christmas Eve. She had been shot in the back of the head, execution style. There were no fingerprints found in her home, and there was no evidence that anything had been touched in her home either. There was also something called a cadaver note that was sent to law enforcement the day before Susan's body was found. The note contained Susan's address and the word cadaver. So prior to this, The filmmakers of the docuseries depict the discovery of a letter that Bob had sent to Susan, where the name Beverly was misspelled on this letter, and the same was on the anonymous cadaver letter note that was sent to law enforcement. So prosecution also say that there were stark similarities between the letter to Susan and the cadaver note, meaning that the spelling and the alliteration in the letter is a match to Bob. I think they were both handwritten, so I'm presuming that the handwriting matches as well. Also, Bob saw both these letters and said that he couldn't tell the difference between either of them, and he couldn't say which one he wrote and which one he didn't. So obviously he's confirming that he actually wrote both. See, he admits to everything and seems to get away with everything. So, the prosecution have got a big job with this trial. So they say it's a clear implication that Bob wrote both of them and was Susan's killer. The defence have also said about the docuseries that it was to win an Emmy and not to actually document Durst's story. Now, I've watched it and I think it depicts his life pretty well, and Bob himself actually stars in it, so, it's his own words. I mean, but I do know things can be edited to make things look a certain way. So the actual documentary will not be used in the trial, but the transcripts from the interviews will be used instead. Court filings that were submitted ahead of the trial, Durst had admitted to writing the cadaver note, but his defence attorneys say this doesn't prove he killed Susan. And a close friend of both Susan and Bob is expected to testify also. He told prosecutors that Bob confessed to killing Susan. His word, no proof. I don't know. He said that Bob told him, "I had to do it. It was her or me. I had no choice." So, if Bob's convicted, he faces a life sentence. He's 76. I don't know how much longer he's got left, but if convicted, he's going to die in prison, basically. Based on the documentary and the few facts I do know, I think he's guilty. But obviously the evidence and the trial will show more. Again, I don't know how he got away with the Maurice Black murder. He admitted it but claimed self-defence, so I'm presuming his defence lawyers are fire. But I hope the prosecution are just as good, so it will make for an interesting trial. So I will be carrying on with this trial however long it takes, because I'm really, really interested in this trial. So until then, bye for now.